I thought I needed another job, but in actuality, I just needed to pause. Today, I will be talking about why just pausing is actually teaching me more than any job ever did. When I got laid off, I panicked just seeing that 15-minute meeting invite pop up same day threw me for a whirlwind. And it's like, I already knew it was coming. So when my manager basically hopped in the call and said they no longer needed me, I went into panic mode and I thought I had to bounce back immediately. But 8 months into being unemployed, I'm realizing, what if my layoff wasn't a setback? What if it was actually an invitation to rest? And what rest looks like to me is resting my mind, my body, my spirit, taking better care of myself, starting my mornings off with more intention and just more of a peaceful mindset. I felt fear. I felt urgency, just feeling like I have to flip through files to find my resume, update it, apply to jobs, and I felt self-doubt. I wondered, well, why am I not good enough for this job anymore? What is it about me where I'm being laid off, but my other two coworkers who don't look like me are still staying, and they started the same day I did? So that's where the self-doubt kicked in, and that's where I just felt so unsure of myself, because I went to school and got my bachelor's. I worked my way up through all these different jobs in tech, and just to avoid this happening. And it's like it was inevitable, you know? Yeah, it was inevitable. I guess it was bound to happen. And it sucks because it's like, well, where do I go from here? Throughout this video, I'm going to go over 5 key points that I felt like I experienced throughout this layoff journey and just trying to find work. My first key point is going into initial panic mode. Now, what that looks like is obsessive job hunting, pressure to explain yourself or your self-worth, and also feeling like you have to compare yourself to others. I did that a lot. I would look at some of the people that I know, or just see random strangers going into work, going into the office, and wonder, why can they keep their job? What am I doing wrong? What did I do to get to this point in my life? And it was just a total bummer, because I just had so much anxiety going through that experience with myself. It was almost like I didn't want to hear anything positive. I knew I needed to, but it was just like the world was just crumbling down on me because I did not have a plan B. And as much as I would have loved to have a plan B, I was just so honed in on work and just trying to make sure my job was done before I logged off for the day, or set up these meetings, create these agendas, meet with various stakeholders. And in reality, I wasn't doing anything for myself. I was doing all of this for the company. The company that said, oh yeah, we don't have the head count. We don't have the budget. Thanks for your help. We're going to keep all the documentation and all of the presentations that you created. But yeah, we got to let you go. You can get unemployment. But yeah, there's that. When I was applying for work, I would get in contact with like contract recruiters, and they would ask for referrals. So with my last role, my manager, well, both of my managers had told me before I left my job, hey, if you ever need a referral, if you ever need assistance with just a job referral, anything like that, I know people who work at Figma, I know people who work at Adobe, or just whatever, reach out. And I was like, okay, great. So when that time came, one of my managers was actually unresponsive, and the other one, and these are two at the same company, the other one reached out, followed up, said, hey, thanks for reaching out, send me an email and I'll get back to you. And I said, okay, great. So he told me to send him an email of all the details, which I did. And I never heard back. So I followed up. I didn't hear back. And it just made me wonder, like, is it because they don't get it? Is it because they've never been in my shoes or never been in this position before? And it was as if when I worked for them, yeah, I was a priority, but now that I'm no longer there and I need assistance, it's like I'm not a priority anymore. In that sense, it did hit me a little harder, and I was like, okay, well, I've grown up with this mindset. If you want something done, do it yourself. I've always grown up with that mentality because I feel like I hate disappointment. I hate asking people for things. So asking for those referrals are really me just reaching out just out of desperation. It was just very disappointing because if it were me, I would stop all that I'm doing and try to be a resource, which I've done numerous times. Even when I was working, I would help my friends rewrite their resumes. I would help them revamp their LinkedIn, send them job opportunities. And I still do this. But it was just like, wow, now that I need that assistance, the people who told me they would help me are nowhere to be found. So that was a total bummer. The second key point I want to talk about is the emotional toll of being laid off and trying to navigate unemployment. You go through grief of the loss of the person that you thought you were or you thought you were becoming. Like for me, my last role was the first time in my entire career journey where I had made over 6 figures. And I was proud of that because, my salary, it never reached that point. Like even through my previous roles, I was doing pretty good, but I just couldn't get to 6 figures. It was like the negotiating, like, oh, what's the question I would usually ask recruiters? Hey, can you ask your compensation team what the budget is for this role? And just to negotiate and try to get some more money, because how dare you lowball me? Don't do that. I thought I was becoming this person where I could have money saved up and I could go travel. I could go, on adventures and save for certain things. And I just had this dream that, I could do all of these things with the right amount of money saved up and invest and, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not to say that I still can't do that. I can. It's just I have to do it a little bit differently. I went through grief and I went through burnout and loss of identity. I feel, till this day, I still feel that sense of loss of identity because going throughout school and, staying in the books and just being told, hey, if you go to school, get a good job, you'll just keep leveling up and get to a certain point of your life where you're comfortable. And that's what I did. I never fully tapped into any passions throughout my career journey. It was just, I have bills to pay, or I want these clothes. I realized I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for other people. I was doing it for other companies. And it felt like my value was tied to productivity. It didn't feel like it was tied to passionate, aspiring things that I wanted for myself. So I asked myself, was I, months later, was I really happy there? Or was I just comfortable? And obviously, not everyone is happy in their jobs. If you are happy in your job, kudos to you. I love that for you. I aspire to be like that, to be like you. I think it was comfortability. Once I hit that over 6-figure cap, I was like, oh, this is what it's like. Bet. I just felt like the whole world was in my hands. Throughout this time, I just started thinking about the things that actually do make me happy. What does make Taylor happy? What inspires Taylor? What fuels Taylor? It was just journaling and trying to figure out those questions, figure out the answers to those questions that I would ask myself. So my third key point that I want to go over is realizing that I was exhausted. Before I started this job, I was laid off from another company and I wasn't working out as frequently like I used to. I would be off and on. I would go 2 to 3 miles here every other day, or go to the gym like once a week. But before, I used to be in the gym about 4 or 5 times a week. I used to do about 5-6 miles. And it's like as soon as I started my new job, that kind of came to a halt a little bit. I would walk, but it wasn't as frequent as I used to because you have to go into meetings. I want to go get 3 miles in today during the lunch hour. Well, I have a meeting from 12 to 1:15. There goes my lunch hour. And I have to host it. I have to create the agenda. I have to do the meeting notes. I was realizing how tired I actually was, and I wasn't pursuing the things that were actually giving me that joy that could help de-stress my mind and my body. But when I realized that, man, I was exhausted during that time, I started feeling grateful for unemployment. And that's weird. That is very weird for me to say. I can't believe I just said that. There were mornings, and sometimes there are still mornings when I wake up and I'm like, wow, I don't have to be in a meeting this morning at 9 a.m. That is a beautiful thing for me. I don't have any 9 a.m. meetings. I'm not commuting right now. I don't have to people please. I hate that. And even then, if I do end up going back into corporate America, people pleasing is something that I really don't want to bring back. I just felt like for the first time, I could finally breathe. And that was such a good feeling for me. I love that for me. And that leads into my next key point. My fourth point is the power of doing nothing for a while, for a brief moment. So after I got laid off, I was like, okay, well, I need, another plan. There's the job applications. There's me, okay, well, let me sign up for delivery driving, signed up for unemployment. But I realized that it was okay to rest. And resting isn't lazy. Resting is not lazy. If you grew up and someone told you you were lazy, resting is not lazy. It's recovery. My body had to go into the deepest recovery imaginable. And it really needed that, like a lot. I actually take more naps than I ever have in my entire life. And that is so weird for me to say that. But I'm like, wow, I'm dozing off at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The power of doing nothing can also mean you don't need to plan right away. I'm such a big planner. My friends and my family always tell me, they always laugh at me or make jokes. Oh, you plan this or do you got this on the calendar? Yes, I have everything on my calendar. But lately, I've been slacking, y'all. I've been slacking. Some things are not on the calendar right now. And that is something that I've been trying to fix a little bit because that does help me stay focused. But God laughs at our plans, y'all. I had plans last year and God was like, okay, we'll see. And I was just like, wow, God, like, so you knew my plans and you was just gonna let me go through that and feel like I had it, and then boom. The insight that I gained or learned often comes from silence. Yes, silence. I had to take a break from social media. I had to take a break from a lot of people. There were many moments where I just sat there. I didn't have my phone on me. I didn't have the TV on. I just sat in silence. Most of those times I prayed. Most of those times I journaled. I stretched. I just tried to connect with myself more. I try to be more intentional with how I start my mornings or how I go about my day. In that silence, sometimes I just have ideas rolling off the top of my head. And I'm just like, wow, that's a good idea. I should do that. Or wow, like this is a good idea. I should tell this person that they should do that. You know, it feels good to not have your mind racing about things that you just don't care about. I really did not care about that job at all. I just cared about the money that was being deposited into my account every Friday. So yeah, insight comes after silence. Which leads me to my fifth key point on what I learned, what I'm still learning during this break. I'm reclaiming my peace and I'm setting new boundaries with people. The peace aspect of it is so, so important, especially growing up to be a people pleaser and realizing like, hey, I don't have to do that. I don't have to please people, or I don't have to be around this person because their energy is very off-putting. I don't really have to interact with this person if I don't want to. You know, it's just reclaiming your peace, reclaiming your time. If I don't feel like going to this event and I know, oh, I already had this plan for my day, I don't have to go to the event. Simple as that. Just doing what feels right for me, you know. And I'm understanding what kind of work energizes me and what kind of work drains me. So right now, the goal of this channel is to create art through visual storytelling. And I feel like that does not drain me. I've done many videos of me just doing voiceovers and just talking through the videos. And lately, they have felt so passionate and so true to me, to the point where I feel like, wow, this is energizing to me. Even the editing process, it's just like, wow, like, oh, light bulb over my head. Like, I just want to keep going. I want to keep editing. I'm over here editing at 1 o'clock in the morning, still working on a video, you know, adjusting the color grading and just having fun with it. You know what I mean? And so having fun with it, that's really the most important thing that you can do. Focus on things that energize you, that keep your spirits lifted, that lights your eyes up when you work on it. My eyes were not lit up in corporate. It was lit up when I got my check. That is the only time my eyes were lit up. And I was just, besides working on, UX design stuff that I was passionate about, then yeah, my eyes were lit up for that because I love that. I love doing that. So yeah, it's something that I'm just learning. I'm doing things more intentionally on my terms. And that's important. And I really feel like I would not have learned this if I didn't get laid off. And when I turned 30 a few months ago, I was bummed out because I was like, wow, I don't have a job. I'm 30. I thought by this time I would have a house. I have my car. I thought I would have, my IRA investments here, and I I have this and that, yada, yada. And I don't know. I just thought 30 was just going to be that peak year where, not to say it won't be, because I'm still 30. It just started out a little rocky, but that's all right. I had big dreams for myself. And you know what? I still do have big dreams for myself. God's plans for me are just going a little bit differently than I originally planned for. God has a different script for me, and that's okay. And I think I had to come to acceptance with that. So that's what I'm working on right now. But what I will say, being laid off felt like, okay, y'all ever like going to, I don't know, a doctor's office or a restaurant, and somebody in front of you walks in and they see you behind them. And you're thinking, oh, they're going to be nice enough, hospitality, they're going to be nice enough to hold the door, but they don't. They let it slam in your face. Being laid off felt like somebody slammed the door shut in my face. It gave me space to breathe, rest, and think about what I actually want to do, which I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure that out, and it's going to take some time. Your worth isn't tied to a job title. I think that's really the biggest key point I had to learn for myself, is my worth isn't tied to my job title. I felt proud of my job title, and I grieved it when I lost my job, my pay, my benefits. I grieved that version of myself. But this version of myself can also feel the love, and she can also feel inspired and can have a title that she loves and appreciates and can feel proud to say she has. So I started this YouTube channel in hopes of just inspiring others and just having honest conversation with each other. But if you are navigating a layoff, I just want you to know that you're not alone. There are a lot of us going through the exact same thing right now, and it sucks. But the biggest thing that I can say that matters right now is community. Having that community really makes you feel at peace, and it helps lessen that feeling of loneliness and feeling like the world is just tumbling down on you. But if you were laid off, I am curious, and if we can start a conversation in the comments, what did you learn after losing your job? How did you navigate that? Did you step away? Did you just immediately start applying to jobs? Did you actually rest? Jot down some of like your thoughts, and even like some of the things that have been helping y'all navigate this journey. But I do want to thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you all just listening to me yap. I realized that I actually enjoy yapping more than I thought I did, but it's cool. It's cool. I plan on posting more videos like this, so you will be seeing more of me on your feed. But in the meantime, if you do want to tune into more, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. That would mean the world to me. I plan on building a community here, so that would be super cool, super fetch. But in the meantime, if you want to tune into more, subscribe, please, and just come along for the ride. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care.